Okay, so welcome back to the lecture series in digital image processing. Last week we covered the edge detection. This week we will be covering on the linking of those edges. Okay, so the idea is based on the process after the edge detection. So two of the most popular edge detection algorithms are again reiterated here. The one is the Marr-Hildreth algorithm, which introduced the concept of Laplacian of Gaussian, and then of course the ever popular Canny edge detection algorithm. Okay. So let's actually spend some time again to refresh what were these algorithms actually. And Marr-Hildreth, of course, it applied the Gaussian filter. It's a smoothing operation to remove any unwanted high frequencies getting enhanced by the Laplacian operation which follows, right? Okay, so this together can create the Laplacian of Gaussian. Okay, and then basically by the end of these two processes, what you essentially achieve is you highlighted sort of all possible edges in the image, and then of course you need to remove the unwanted edges, and that is achieved using this process of thresholding using a 3x3 kernel. So just let's actually reiterate what is exactly happening. So let's assume the 3x3 kernel, and the pixel under consideration is, let's say, this xy. Okay, so and you need to consider all the four directions, basically the horizontal, the vertical direction, the horizontal direction, and then of course the two diagonal directions. Okay, so each of these directions are considered, and in each of these directions you see for any sign change with respect to this pixel. Okay, and if there is a sign change, not only that, the difference between the neighbors should also be greater. The absolute of difference between the neighbors should also be greater than a threshold. So what exactly happening is, let's consider one particular case. Let's say I'm considering this vertical case. So you need to consider f of x minus 1 y, right, this guy. Okay, and then you need to consider the next one is f of x plus 1 y, which is this guy, right? So you just need to see the sign change between these two. Okay, and if there is a sign change, then of course you will consider this also, the difference between the amplitude or the intensity at these points. Okay, so there should be a sign change between these two guys, and if there is a sign change, you see the absolute difference between these two, and that should be greater than some threshold. Okay, so this threshold is defined. So if there is a sign change, and if this is also satisfied, then of course you consider that there is an edge in this direction, right? Okay, and if that is the case, what you do is basically you make both of them positive or both of them equal to 1. Okay, so that's why you do. Similarly, you need to consider in all directions, and similarly you will end up in getting sort of all the four directions considered, and that's what Marr-Hildreth does. And of course you already know that there is a possibility that there is a chance that you may have edges in multiple directions from the given pixel, right? So that's how this algorithm is not that popular, but still it's a very simple, sophisticated algorithm, right? And now if you consider the next one is the Canny edge detection, and this is one of the most popular evergreen algorithm. So here again you start with a Gaussian filter because you need to remove the effect of any unwanted high frequencies getting highlighted, and then the differencing operation is done by not Laplacian, by Sobel filters. So you know already, you do the x direction and y direction filtering, and the output of that is basically a magnitude image. And so at this stage what you have is a magnitude of this, basically nothing but gx square plus gy square, so you already know that, and the angle or the phase image, which is nothing but tan inverse of gy by gx. So you have this, right? And then based on these two, you do the process of non-maximal suppression, which is nothing but, first step of course is you reduce the range of angles to again four directions. Okay, so something like 45 degrees only. So anything within that 45 degrees you quantize it. So some quantization on this angle. So let me just put quantization of this particular angle is done as part of this step. And then after that what you do is basically you go to each and every pixel in the image. Okay, so you go through each and every pixel. For that particular pixel you consider the angle, and only that direction you are actually sort of only in that direction you sort of consider the magnitude, okay? And then even there also, what you do is actually the magnitude also you will see whether that magnitude is greater than a threshold or not. And if it is so, you basically, basically again, similar to the Marr-Hildreth algorithm, you see the difference across the neighbors in that direction. And if it is greater than a threshold, you keep it, otherwise you make it 0. Okay, so that's how you do. And that is why non-maximal suppression, the name comes. Whatever is not maximum in the direction given by the angle, you are suppressing them. Okay, so that's sort of an intermediate result. And we will not stop there. The next is the beautiful concept of this hysteresis thresholding. So at this stage, you get only maximal or maximum values given by this direction, right, the quantized direction. Okay, and then you do this concept of hysteresis thresholding where you choose two thresholds, not one threshold, and basically there is a weak threshold and there is a strong threshold. Okay, right, and then what we do is anything above the strong threshold is given the value of 1 or 255. And anything between this weak and strong where we are not very sure about whether it belongs to the edge or not, so some threshold. So this will get some intermediate value, let's say 128 or 0.5 in normalized. Okay, if it's normalized, it's 0.5. If it's the 255 unsigned int 8 range, then it will be 128. And then anything below this, you put it to 0, right? So then what essentially you get is sort of an in between sort of level in the image. And then you do one more step is what you go again through these intermediate, these weak thresholded pixels only. Okay, and then what you see is for these weak thresholded pixels, you see whether it is surrounded by any strong thresholded value or 1 or 255 value. If it is, then of course you replace that weak threshold by 255 or 1, otherwise you make it 0. So it's very beautiful algorithm, right? I mean, Canny Edge, I like it because it's sort of very sophisticated. Of course, it is a computationally intensive algorithm and it takes a lot of time to run in many cases because it goes in an iterative fashion, because you can't do it parallel, right? Because each pixel is related to the other pixel. You're considering the neighborhoods. You can't do the parallel operation. So it's really an iterative algorithm. It takes a lot of time, but it gives you the result that what you want in most of the cases. Okay, so but irrespective of the edge detection that you choose, okay, you end up in a scenario that you have lot of things like this. I'll just manipulate an image. Okay, so you may get something like this. Okay, and then the problem here is these gaps, right? There is let's say you are detecting the bone in an image, so you may end up in getting all these pixels, but then you already know that the bone is sort of continuous, right? You have gaps like this. So that's what you want to fill it up, and finally you want to have an image which is something like a continuous curve or continuous line or continuous circle, for example, or continuous ellipse, for example. So that's your objective. So you want to link those edges, and that forms the first part of this week's lecture. So you take the output of any edge detection algorithm, and you obviously know that the output will be a black and white image, right? The white part is the edges, all the possible edges, and the black is non-edges for you. You take that image and then you try to link these edges together and to come up with a continuous sort of edge, and that is why the name edge linking. Okay, so one of the rude way or the straightforward way that you can come to your mind is basically something like this. So you go through the image, you scan each row of the image, and then you see whether you define a threshold. Okay, so you see whether let's say I'm just taking a manipulated example. Okay, so these are the pixels, and let me say, I mean, just put some values. Okay, so you have something like I'll put 1 and 0 because it's easy rather than 255. So you have 1 1, then some 0 here, so 1, then 0 here, and then of course 0 0 here. Okay, and then maybe 1 here. So you define a threshold. You say that anything more than 2 pixels, I won't be considering that. So in this case, you consider these 3 because 2 pixels is what I said. Then you observe that this is 1 1 and this is 0, and then of course you won't do anything. But then here you see 101, so you replace this by 1, and then if you see over here, you stop there, right? Only this is linked together. This is all 0. You made it all 0. But then the next question comes is, what about other directions? And that's what this step says. You basically see other directions also. You have to see the vertical direction also. You have to see the diagonal direction also. And then you do similar sort of thresholding. You come up with linking. But this is very rude way, right? There is no basis here. It's all depends on the threshold. It's one way to link the edge. It's quite straightforward way of linking the edges. Now, some other way to do is some sort of curve fitting, right? You can fit a polynomial, for example. So in this case, if you consider here, you can see that I can fit sort of a polynomial. It's sort of a piecewise linear fit, you could say. So what I do is basically I fit maybe a curve like this, okay? And then maybe I'll explain it using the slides itself. So you define a threshold, of course, here also. So what you do is in this case, it's actually a more trivial problem because it's not a closed loop of edge points. So what you see over here, each of these points are the edge pixels identified after an edge detection algorithm. So always remember that, okay? So now all these pixels are considered, all these bright spots are considered. I will see, basically I will try to see the longest distance, okay? So to start with, let's say. So then A and B is of course the strongest Euclidean distance, you can say. And once you identify that, what you do is essentially try which is actually normal to this line, okay? So perpendicular to this line, what are all those edges? Okay, so this may be one, this may be another, this may be another, this may be another, and so on. Out of that, which is the longest? Okay, so obviously this is the longest. So then you consider this and this as edges. Okay, so that's already done. So this is considered and this is considered. Now from them, you find the longest, of course, and then of course C is the point, right? And then you already identified two segments, this segment and this segment. And then you find again perpendicular from each of these segments, which is the longest. And of course you will find D and D in that case, and you just proceed it in an iterative fashion again, and you end up in getting something like this. Okay, so this is quite again intuitive, it's not very difficult to understand. But then there is a problem with this concept if you see here, okay. If you see this one, this is quite nice in the sense like you have a very open-ended segment between these two, right? So that is like quite easy. But if you consider here, if I go by the same logic, this is the first thing I should consider. But then you obviously know that it is actually within the region, right? Within the boundary, right? Because human inspection says that this is sort of the edge, right? And if you choose that longest, then you have a problem. So in this case, we need to see on both sides, right? I mean, if you see this AB line, you have on both sides, this side also and this side also. If we have on both sides segments which are greater than a threshold, okay, some threshold you define. If there are segments on both sides greater than that threshold, then you ignore that line. That's what happens, right? So you have a segment here and you have a segment here which is normal or perpendicular to the line AB, and both are greater than this threshold T, and in that case I will just ignore it. So this cannot form a part of the border or the edge. Okay, so then next choice obviously is this guy, between C and B shown here. And then of course here there are no edges on both sides, only one side, so you go with that. And similarly this edge, right? And you proceed in this direction, you end up in getting this particular thing. Okay, so this is quite evident, right? It's quite straightforward. But again, this is also some parameter driven. You have a threshold here. Okay, you have to consider that threshold and a lot of rules and regulations you have to follow. Now the question that comes immediately to our mind is, instead of going this way, that going from a pixel and trying to link it up, can I fit something like a line or a circle or an ellipse or any shape which can be defined, which can be parameterized, right? When I say parameterized, is nothing but these shapes can be expressed in terms of an equation, right? For example, for line you have the very beautiful expression of mx plus c. M is the slope, c is the intercept. Or even there is something like r cos theta plus r sin theta, right? So basically the ever popular polar coordinate expression, right? So I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it's correct. So I mean, in the sense like not this way. I should not be writing. So x is equal to r cos theta, y is equal to r sin theta. Right. So you have that parametric expression. Or in the case of circle, you can have x minus xc center for x plus y minus yc square plus equal to r square. Right. So this is the where r is the radius of the circle. Xc and yc are the x and y centers of the circle. So it's parametric equation. And similarly for ellipse, for example, you can come up with the standard equation, right? So if it's not it that better than just going for something like what we discussed so far. Yes, that is the better, and that's what it's ever popular algorithm in image processing is known as Hough transform. And there is a reason why it's known as a transform, because you're going from the conventional XY space to some other space. Okay, so we'll discuss about that in detail in the next lecture. Until then, goodbye from my side.